Hello, this is Kate, and this is my review of the Sirian Starseed Tarot. So this deck is by Patricia Corey, and the artwork is done by Alyssa Bartha. And Patricia Corey, I don't know if you have heard of her, but she has written quite a few books on kind of new age spiritual topics, and she is a channel, and so she does channeled books. And I've actually never read any of her books, but I think I'm going to start now that I have her tarot deck. So the deck comes in a nice big box like this, and I'll show you the card backs. They're really lovely. So here's what the back of the deck looks like. And the first thing you'll notice about these cards right away is how big they are. They're huge. And to give you an idea of how big they are, here's my average size Rider-Waite tarot deck or tarot card, and here's how big they are compared to that one. So pretty big. They're really glossy, and they're quite sturdy, so quite thick, so they're really good quality cards. You can tell that these cards are gonna like hold up over time. The major complaint that a lot of people had when I read the reviews on Amazon was that the cards are so big that they're hard to shuffle. I actually devised my own way of shuffling this deck, so it's not that hard, and I'll show you how I do it. First, I cut the deck in half, then I cut the deck in half again, and then I just shuffle like that. And then I do the other side and shuffle it. So I actually don't feel like it's an impossible deck to shuffle, but it does feel a little more awkward than when you're using smaller cards. So I'm just going to go through this deck so you can get a feel for it as I talk about it. So all the artwork has a really celestial kind of cosmo universal feel to it. There's lots of stars in the background and stuff like that. It's really, the artwork is very pretty, and I'm not sure the exact name of the style of this kind of artwork, but she's used photographs and like digital images and stuff, and she's kind of put it all together. And I normally don't really like decks that do that, but for some reason this deck is very different. I really like the artwork on this deck. It really speaks to me. So you might have already noticed that Patricia Corey has changed a lot of the names from the Rider-Waite deck in this deck. So cups are chalices, which is easy to remember. And the court cards she's changed. So I'll just show you some of the court cards so you know what I mean. Okay, so the Seeker is the page, so the page becomes the Seeker. The Knight becomes the Adept. The Queen becomes the Sage. And the King is the Master. And flames are wands. Crystals are pentacles. And swords are orbs. Just trying to find an orb card. Oh, it's all crystals. Flames. Chalices. Oh, come on. Just want an orb. This is a really nice one. Sage of Flames. I like that one. Where are all the orbs? It's like they're all at the back or something. Seeker of Flames. Okay, well, I'll get to it eventually. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going through here. And the funny thing that I wanted to say about the orbs is the orbs replace the swords, but the orbs look like pentacles, so I find that really confusing. I'm not sure why she's chosen orbs to replace the swords. I find it a little bit odd, but I'm sure there's I'm sure there's a reason or an explanation. So I like the way she uses a lot of the traditional imagery that you'd find in the Rider-Waite deck, but yet she also does her own thing. So the shadow is the devil. So as you can see, it's, you know, different from the Rider-Waite card. She's totally done her own thing here. And but at the same time, a lot of the minor arcana have kept their traditional imagery, so it's fairly easy to recognize a lot of these cards. But she's really done a good job of doing a nice mix of you know, using the traditional imagery but also doing her own thing. This one's really creepy. Okay, so here we are, 5 of orbs, which would be 5 of swords, and I think the orbs just look so much like pentacles. It's totally confusing. And the major arcana cards she's also renamed. So some of them have kept their original names, and some of them she's renamed. So I'll show you what I mean. So Starseed is the Fool. The Great Wheel is Wheel of Fortune. Karma replaces Judgment. And Higher Self replaces the High Priestess. And she's renamed a lot of the other major arcana cards too. And this deck comes with a book, and I'll just show you the book. It's just a little, you know, tiny companion book, and she's got a little bit of information about tarot in there, which is pretty good. And then she talks about, you know, the different suits and the changes that she made, the renaming of the suits. And then, of course, she's got the description of each card. There's pictures for the major arcana cards, but when you get to the minor arcana cards, there's no actual pictures. And it's a pretty good book. I haven't read the whole thing, but I've, you know, browsed through it. And in the back, oh yeah, another weird thing about this one too is she doesn't have the descriptions of the court cards. So she calls them the people keys, and she talks about like each category, so the seeker, the adept, the sage, and the master, but she doesn't actually give you meanings for each one. And she explains why she did this, and I can't remember exactly why, but she feels that each card is different, and I can't remember, but she does explain it. And then at the very end, she's got the Sirian Starseed spread. And this is a really cool spread. It's kind of her version of the Celtic cross spread. And I've tried it out a couple times, and it's a fun spread to work with. So that's the companion book that comes with it. And I'll just go back to the cards so you can get another look at them. So I've been working with this deck I only just got it for Christmas, so I've actually only been working with it for a few days. But I find it's a really nice deck to do readings for myself with. I feel like each card, it's easy to find different interpretations for each card. I'm trying to think of a better way to explain that. Oh, this is a nice card. I like that one. It's almost like the images really allow you to tap into your intuition more and kind of let your psychic abilities step into the forefront. There's just something about the images. I'm not sure what it is, but this is definitely a really a very special deck. I know I'll be using this deck years down the road. Yeah, so I highly recommend this deck. It's been an absolute joy to work with. And it does take a little bit of getting used to shuffling the larger cards, but once you get used to it, you know, it just feels like second nature once you get used to handling these cards. So yeah, so that's my review. If you have this deck, feel free to comment and let me know, you know, how you found working with it and what you think of it. And thank you so much for watching.